Hello, friends. The 1006 days of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. In the Kursk region, Russian troops have advanced in the southwestern part of the Kursk bridgehead of the Ukrainian armed forces. According to the deep state map, they have captured 3 border villages: Gordievka, Osponovka, and Viktorovka, and Darino has moved into the gray zone. At the same time, Russian telegram channels claim that their troops have already captured Darino, and there is a video of the Russian flag being installed there. Let me remind you earlier that the Russians have recaptured the large Olguvka forest. With the capture of the Olguvka forest, the Russians unblocked the road from Korenivo to the south to Novoivanovka and Zeleny Shlak, simplifying logistics with the front. According to Western media, the Ukrainian bridgehead in the Kursk region has shrunk by 40 to 50% since the start of the Russian counteroffensive in October. According to other sources, by 60%. According to the Wall Street Journal, Russia has sent its best units to the Kursk region, which are attacking the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces around the clock, trying to recapture Russian territory before Trump's inauguration and possible negotiations. They attack constantly, morning, afternoon, night. I think that in the end, they will push us back. They are adding more force and more resources, and they have a goal to reach the border at any cost, so they will do it, says the battalion commander of the 47th Brigade, Jenny. Not all Ukrainian fighters agree with this position. These are the best Ukrainian forces against the best Russian forces. In this situation, I see no reason for us to retreat, says Sergeant Jin. In the Kharkiv region, the Russians attacked the Ukrainian border in another area, in the Kozacha Lopan area. This follows from the message of the General Staff of Ukraine. In the Kharkiv direction, the enemy stormed the positions of our troops 6 times near the settlements of Kozacha Lopan, Tychy and Vovchansk, the General Staff said. Tychy is located near Vovchansk, and Kozacha Lopan is much further west. There have been no battles there since 2022. Let me remind you that Russian troops recently entered the Kharkiv border village of Sotnytskyi Kozachok, which, according to the deep state map, is still under enemy control. Also, the deep state telegram channel reported yesterday evening that the Russians landed in boats across the Oskil River north of Kupiansk in the Kupiansk section of the Kharkiv direction and have already consolidated their positions on the western bank. According to its data, the Russian positions beyond the Oskil are now south of Novomlinsk. The enemy carried out a rather unexpected operation. They swam across the Oskil in boats and consolidated their positions on the western bank. This is not just overcoming a water obstacle for the sake of a photo, because the enemy occupied the positions of one of our brigades, the telegram channel writes. The enemy made a number of advances on the front, from Pokrovsk to Kurakhove. The Russians advanced south of Pokrovsk, starting to bypass the city from this side, moving simultaneously towards the border with the Dnipropetrovsk region from Siladovi. From the practically captured village of Zhavti, they have less than 17 kilometers left to the administrative border of the Donetsk region. To the north of Kurakhove, according to the Ukrainian military, the enemy is advancing in the area of the village of Berezki, which is why the Ukrainian armed forces have retreated to Stary Turny. In Kurakhove itself, the Russians, with the support of armored vehicles, broke through to the central part of the city today, where they are attempting to gain a foothold in high-rise buildings. In the video published by the enemy, there is no fierce resistance from the Ukrainian armed forces. The pocket south of Kurakhove, judging by the maps from the Ukrainian side, is gradually narrowing. Fighter Muchnoy writes that our forces retreated from Olinka and Yelizavetivka with fighting. According to him, it was very difficult to retreat when the Russians on both sides controlled all the escape routes. Romanivka also came under enemy control. The strong points in the Uspanivka area are very closely shot at. Any retreat will have bad consequences. I have already said before that there will be losses and not everyone will have a chance to survive. The commanders have played too much, forcing men to be pulled out of a narrow bottleneck, but it is too late, writes Muchnoy. The Russian troops had their biggest breakthrough in the area of Velyka Novosilka over the weekend. In 2 dashes from Shakhtarsky and Zolotoneva, they reached the eastern outskirts of the city and started fighting in the settlement itself. To the north, Russian troops reached the highway connecting the city with the village of Bagadar. Another road to the north passes through the key village of Novy Komar. Apparently, the Russians will try to break through to it in order to finally block Velyka Novosilka from the north. Russian telegram channels write that their breakthrough to the city was made possible by the small number of Ukrainian army troops in the strongholds defending Velyka Novosilka. Some of them, allegedly, had no soldiers at all. The highway leading to the city from the west is under a similar threat of being cut. It is less than 3 kilometers from the recently captured Rivnopol. If both roads, the western and northern, are captured, the city will be blocked, although not completely surrounded, given the open terrain to the northwest. But there are essentially no roads there, so withdrawing equipment and soldiers will be problematic in the event of the loss of the roads. That is, an extremely dangerous situation is brewing for the armed forces of Ukraine. Moreover, Velyka Novosilka is of great importance in terms of the defense of the Zaporizhzhia region. After the loss of Velyka Novosilka, Hulyaipole will immediately sag, which will pull Orikhiv along with it. The prospects are not very good, as you can see, said Ukrainian military observer Myrzhnikov. It is also worth noting that the fall of Velyka Novosilka will simplify Russia's task of blocking the Kurakhove region from the western side, and in general, access to the southwestern borders of the Donetsk region. But the main threat in the event of the loss of Velyka Novosilka is that the Russians will begin to bypass from the north the powerful line of fortifications that the armed forces of Ukraine have built along the entire southern front. The situation with Ocherytuny, a key point of defense of the Ukrainian troops near Avdiivka, which unexpectedly and without serious fighting fell in April, will repeat itself, which allowed the Russian army to gradually bypass the entire line of fortifications that the Ukrainian armed forces were preparing to the west of Donetsk. The capture of Velyka Novosilka, if it happens, will allow the Russians to develop an offensive to the west towards the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions, entering the rear of the Ukrainian troops that are holding the defense near Hulyaipole and Orikhiv, and then approach Zaporizhzhia itself. Do not think that if Velyka Novosilka is in the Donetsk region, then it will be limited to that. There is a very short distance to the border of the Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk regions. It is necessary to immediately take stabilization actions right now, because, on an operational scale, a failure there could cost us dearly, to the point that the fortifications in Zaporizhzhia will simply be bypassed, writes an officer of the Armed Forces of Ukraine with the call sign Alex. Friends, this channel exists solely thanks to your support. If you have the opportunity and desire to support the channel, I will be very grateful to you. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.